Thank you for listening to Breakthrough Consciousness,
the podcast where we get out of the loop and into it all.
My name is Sean.
And I'm Clayton.
And as your co-host, we're going to be facilitating hearty conversation centered around personal growth.
Whether that be through us sharing our own stories and experiences, or holding space for our guests to share theirs, we're going to tie it all together with lively conversation and hope that you all enjoy. Welcome back. Today we've got an awesome episode for you guys, bringing a very special guest on.
That's right. We brought on my arguably oldest cousin, Joni. Our moms were actually pregnant together, and she was born 4 months before I was. So I guess you could say she was the cousin I met first. So we spent a lot of time together in our early years. So it was fun to get her on the podcast. You know, we just want to welcome her on and talk about her journey a little bit. She moved out to Minnesota about a year ago, and in her time out there, she actually started her own small business. So it's called Audrey Kate Creations, named after her daughter, and she creates and sells bows and general hair accessories.
And they're all very pretty.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And before I forget, for anyone that would like to check out her work, it can be found at shopaudreykate.com. And I'll be sure to post links in the show notes and all of that. But yeah, like Clayton said, it's really quality work. She's always been extremely creative, and even as a kid was always into the arts and crafts and
excelling way more than, other people I know that are just
That's
slopping
awesome.
paste. Like,
Most kids are eating it, but she's playing with
exactly.
it.
She's over here like an architect while we're like putting it up our nose, but I digress.
Aside from just touching on her business and that creation process, we, scratch the surface of a few topics and dive into a couple others, but mostly all revolving around general self-care.
Yeah, that was the theme that definitely kept reoccurring.
Exactly. Building our boundaries so that we're still open and receptive and loving towards the world around us, but so that we're respecting ourselves, not getting walked on, allowing ourselves to just eat up everyone else's mess. But we'll dive into that a little more once we get rolling here. So hope you all enjoy.
Cool. And I just wanted to remark too just how beautiful of a conversation this really was. Definitely got to a really awesome space by the end of the episode, and it felt very much of a balanced conversation. A couple times in the episode, Clayton gives some really good visualization exercises for kind of building somewhat of a stabilizing shield to keep our energy balanced. So I highly encourage you listening to give those a try. On to the episode. Cool. You want to tell us about your business and maybe like the genesis of that whole project?
Yeah, so when I had Audrey, I became a stay-at-home mom, and a few months in, I started suffering really bad with postpartum depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
And, just the newness of, I have this life now, and she's completely dependent on me, and I
Seems like that's pretty common too, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of like a taboo subject. Like, people don't want to talk about it, just like any mental health issues. They don't want to talk about it because, the stigma of being crazy or whatever. But postpartum depression is actually super common, and it should be talked about more. But, it's hard, especially being home all day with a new baby.
Brand new person.
Yeah, we have to figure each other out, and in that, I kind of lost my sense of self, almost. Not to say that, like, my new identity as a mom was anything to be, frowned upon, but it just wasn't who I was, and so I'm still trying to deal with, like, figuring out who I am now, and I have this little person who needs me all the time, so it was hard, and, being at home all the time and not getting that opportunity to step out of the situation and stuff like that. So I started just, like, crafting, like, just as a outlet.
Yeah.
And I just really got addicted to it, and I just kept growing it and putting stuff on Etsy, and I was like, oh, this is working. People are into it. So I was like, all right, cool,
So it was with that intention to kind of like share it with other people from the get-go?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily from the get-go, but I just kind of like was making all this stuff, and I was like, well, I might as well see if anyone else is interested in it. And people were. Cool. So then it's just been cool to see that grow. I mean, I have zero business background. I just kind of, like, one day was like, I'm going to do this and, see where it goes. And
hey, like most entrepreneurs.
yeah,
like,
exactly. So it's been cool, and it's been exciting to see it grow, and
Yeah,
we're
for
in 5
sure.
countries now, so
Heck yeah.
it's like this little tiny dream is like this. I mean, I guess it is an international business.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it's cool, and like we're almost in all 50 states. I'm only like 6 states short of that, so that's really cool, and it's just exciting to see it grow. And now that Audrey's old enough and like cognizant of me working, and she sees me like everything I do, she copies it, and so I'm trying to teach her good habits as well, you know, like show her business, or not necessarily business, but you know, like just healthy habits for myself that she's
Right.
picking up on. So
For sure. She
Yeah.
making little bows herself. Like,
she actually, like, I give her old like packages, like, you know, boxes and stuff that I'll get stuff in, and she'll
Yeah.
put just random stuff in her packages, and then she'll like walk with her purse to the door like she's going to the post office. It's so cute. But
That's
like, I mean,
hilarious.
it's proof that she's watching like
Yeah.
everything that I'm doing.
yeah,
So
for sure. And just that natural, like, as a young person, all you can really do is, like, do what other people do.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like, I remember when I was a kid, like, I would pretend to do homework. Like, before I went to school, like,
Right,
before I was
yeah.
even in kindergarten, I would see my older brothers, like, doing
Yeah.
homework. Like, oh, okay. Or,
right,
like,
this is what we do, exactly.
It's like, no, why? Why would I ever do that? That's not fun. That's not a game.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, she's definitely into like the copycat phase. Like
Yeah.
everything that someone does, she's like, if someone has a cough in the grocery store, she's like, like the fakest cough on earth, but it's so
Oh, is
funny.
that what we're doing right now? We're coughing?
Hope you get over that cough soon.
Right.
But it's been fun to watch her like
Yeah.
grow almost with me in this like journey together on this, you know, stay-at-home business job. So
Yeah, for sure. You want to explain to Clay exactly what you are making? Is it primarily bows?
yeah, it's primarily bows. I do other hair accessories too, but mostly just bows.
Bows, clips. I mean, they're all
Yeah.
like clip-on bows and
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Specifically for kids, though, right? Or
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, adults could, if they wanted to, wear
Yeah.
them. I do have like clips that are like more neutral for like adults and stuff too, but definitely mostly younger is
Nice.
my
And you said
demographic.
that you've been doing this since shortly after her name's Audrey?
Yeah, Audrey.
Was born?
Yeah, she was about 5 months old when I first like really got into it.
Awesome. So you've been at it for about 2 years now.
Yeah, it's been crazy to see it. Like I didn't have any expectations. I was just like, I'm just gonna do this, and you know, if I flop, I flop. But it's
But you've been doing it
Yeah,
now, and
it's
this is
taken
all you're
off, and-
doing as far as supporting yourself and your
yeah.
family.
I mean, my
and-
husband works, but it's definitely a nice second income, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
for
helps
sure.
us to have freedom to go out and do whatever. So.
Yeah, man.
That's
like,
amazing.
artistic freedom for you, too.
Yeah,
to, like-
exactly. It's just really, it's great. It's a win-win. So it's a creative outlet for me. You know, I could still stay home with Audrey, and we kind of, work together. She helps.
Yeah.
She tries to help. But, and then, we also get the second income as well. So
That's so cool.
it's just been,
That's beautiful for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
The fact that you're able to like somewhat survive off of your art and
yeah.
be home with your child in the process. and-
Absolutely.
Your promo game is really on point,
Oh,
too.
thanks.
I mean, you've got somewhat of, like, graphic design
Well, my
background,
husband's a
right?
graphic designer.
Oh, is he? Okay. I didn't know
So that's what he does.
I do a lot of it, but I'll like bounce ideas off of him. Like, hey, does this look okay? Or what do you think about this? And
Gotcha.
so he kind of, that's his input to the business as
Okay.
well. So
Does he use graphic design in his work as well?
no, he does
Oh,
not.
okay.
He does. He used to do it like freelance, but he kind of got away from that, like
Gotcha.
getting back into the office jobs. But he's done work for like other small businesses and stuff like that. But mostly it's just freelance type stuff.
Got you. Have you, like how much of this is just pure intuition and just like you just doing what you think you should do versus have you like looked up like tricks of the trade type stuff?
I mean, I'm always like researching like different styles that are popular and stuff like that. But a lot of it is just intuition.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it's a mixture of both, but mostly probably 70-30 intuition
Yeah.
to research. But I'm constantly researching and like seeing like different things and different material and stuff like that to use. But a lot of it's just like, well, I'll try this.
Yeah.
People are into it. I'll keep doing it. Okay, that one didn't really work out that well. I'll just kind of phase that one out. It
Gotcha.
never happened. So.
Do you definitely have like your number one style that
Oh
people
yeah,
gravitate
definitely,
to? Yeah.
and that's like the most popular one. So,
Okay.
and then, so I try to make that style as much as possible, and then kind of like flourish it with other items. As well, so.
Gotcha. Heck yeah. What about for like promo? Is that all like intuitive as well?
That
Like-
is all intuitive.
Yeah?
That's just
That's
like
awesome.
I'm just gonna make this graphic real quick, and
Yeah.
a lot of
That's
it.
super cool.
My husband has helped with like he's instilled knowledge on like how to make the fonts look good and the color, that kind of basic
Right.
stuff. But I've kind of just run with the basic knowledge that he's given me, and just.
What portals do you use for your promo? Like,
I use different apps on my phone. I use Over a lot for like photos with text, and that's the one I use the most. It's called Over.
do you promo mostly on like Facebook or?
Yeah, mostly Facebook. I also do Instagram as
Okay.
well, but
So it's purely social media though.
yeah, pretty much.
Gotcha. You're not like putting ads and any like.
Well, when I
web-
was on Etsy, I was doing ads on
Okay.
Etsy, but I just broke away from Etsy, and I'm on my own independent website now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's been really.
So they're not taking a
fun.
percentage of everything all the time.
It's just a lump sum at the beginning of the month, and
Oh,
then
gotcha.
like everything else is on mine. So I don't get charged to like put listings up like I did on Etsy, and they don't take 5% out of every. They take 2.9% out, which is typical for any credit card processor.
Okay.
You know, any website with a credit card processor is going to take 2.9, but that's it. That's all they take. So it has been better on the income side since we've switched.
Nice.
But I'll always be grateful for Etsy. That's where I got my start, and you know that's where the traffic was. That's where I've gotten a lot of my customers who are returners. So.
And they're still following up even though you're not on Etsy anymore.
Oh
so
yeah,
they're
I've
not
got a
just, like,
pretty big
Etsy
social
bound.
media following. I mean, pretty big for me. It's not like I haven't gone viral or anything, but
Not yet.
yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
But it's still humbling to me that 200 or 300 people really care what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
What's your
Totally.
business moniker?
Oh, it's Audrey Kate Creations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's obviously named after Audrey.
No way.
Who never guessed?
I wouldn't have.
It's got that ring though, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to Intergalactic Radio. We are your hosts, Glor and Chanel. You added flour or didn't add flour? You didn't add sugar. That's what it was. And he brought it over to my brother's house and he's like, hey guys, I made this cheesecake and it's like all cracked down the middle and stuff. And everyone's like, okay, cool. And my dad's like, oh man, this is delicious. And everyone else like, no. This is gross. And everyone's like, yeah, God, stop eating this. It's disgusting. And my dad's in here like, no, this is delicious. And my dad's like, yeah, really. I didn't put sugar in it. It's fine.
Was he just being nice, your dad?
Yeah, I think so.
That's sweet of him. Oh, yeah, my boy. Very good, very good.
This is the best. Can I have some more?
Did you know that peanut butter cookies don't have flour in them?
All peanut butter cookies?
Well, the ones that I made yesterday.
No, I didn't know that the ones you made yesterday didn't have flour.
Dude, it was just peanut butter, sugar, and egg, and egg. Would be ghetto ice cream? Yeah. I had a friend that made it once, and I woke up on their couch, and she was like mixing up this banana, and she got in my face. She was like, banana mush! I was like, I didn't even try it, dude. It looked so gross. It was like she just mashed up banana. She was like squirting chocolate syrup into, and it was like she was like frozen bananas and chocolate banana mush, and I'm just waking up. I'm like, what? No! I'm like, get that banana mush out of here. And then my buddy comes out, and she's like, banana mush? She's like, what is that? And we were both like, what the hell do you have? And what is that? And she's just like a little troll. Banana mush! I'm trying to figure out where I'm at, what's going on.
I took the lead. Somebody's heart.
I did find a really good news station though on my TV. I have like Wi-Fi television, so I get tons of stations just for connecting my television to the internet. And it's called like Newsly or something. And I get a bunch of different world news and like what seems to be pretty unbiased American news as well, like USA news. And,
Yeah.
Which is sweet because they were reporting on Epstein and they were reporting on like ICE and all the bullshit going on right now. And it seemed totally like non-biased, but they were stating the facts. Like, this is terrible. These people support it, these people don't. And they weren't trying to like tell me like to rise up and rage against, but they also weren't telling me to sit down and listen because this is how it is.
So you feel like it's refreshing just to like see a
news source
unbiased,
that is
yeah.
just giving me the news and allowing me to form my own opinions on it. That
Yeah.
was really cool.
I think that should be,
the norm.
That's
Yeah,
the first
exactly.
time
Yeah.
I've witnessed the news,
That is
and it
refreshing.
made me feel like I have a choice in how I think about it.
Exactly.
In years, I swear.
Do you
So-
watch the news?
I try not to.
Yeah,
You know,
me too.
if I
Same.
hear of like some big thing that's going on, I'll research it on my own. But I try not to like turn on the news. One, it's depressing.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I don't want to turn on the news and see 16 people were shot. And
Right. How does that affect my life in any way that's positive? Like, it
I mean, aside
doesn't,
from like,
you
it
know?
doesn't, definitely not a positive way, but you know,
Right.
just mongering fear and like, okay, so I go to Walmart, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I think if we let fear get the best of us, then those people are winning. But I don't know. I try not to watch the news just because I just live my life and
Yeah.
Same.
I'm trying
That's
to
how
stay
I
in my
feel.
own lane and
Right.
do
And
my
like
own
not
thing.
be depressed.
Right, you know?
Like that's my thing. I don't want to watch the news, not because I enjoy being ignorant. Well, I guess I do to a degree.
Right.
But not because I don't want to be involved,
right.
but because I'll just take it to this level. When I was in junior high, you might remember, I was really into politics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was something that I felt like, oh yeah, this is how change happens. Like, this is how people do good things, whatever. And then, like, very quickly got disenchanted by
Yeah,
that.
it's
like,
easy to do.
Like, it's just like, wait, no. And just,
Yeah.
like, keeping up with all that stuff, it is depressing, like, especially local news.
Oh,
like, I mean,
definitely.
keeping up with, like, elections and stuff, like, that's one thing. And
Right.
you can get, like, your foot in the pool and, like, still kind of know what's going on without getting totally, like, that snowball avalanche
Right.
of all the BS that's
Oh,
out
yeah.
there and all the propaganda and all that. But, like, just, like, local news, like you said, it's
Yeah.
really just fear-mongering.
It
And they're
is.
really just, like, there's a disproportionate focus on the things that are going to make us feel small.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
That's what I was gonna say. It's easy to feel, you know, like you don't have a voice or you don't. I don't want to say you don't matter, but it's easy to feel like that, you know, when you watch the news and it's just, what's the point, you
Yeah,
know?
seriously.
I totally agree, and that's why finding this station was really cool. Not that
Yeah.
I found it on purpose. I was totally not looking for the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
I'll
even know
have to
how I
check
ended
that
up on
out.
that station, but it's just like boop boop. Turned off my PlayStation, the TV turns itself on.
Nice.
And I was just like, okay, news. I'm definitely not watching it, but then I start watching it unintentionally, you know, just because I'm sitting there and it's on, and I'm like, all right, wow, these are all the things that are going on. Okay, I'm aware of all this. You're not telling me how to feel about it?
That's great.
Tight.
That's really good.
It's really nice.
And it also like puts it into perspective of if you want to do the further research into it to see how you feel, you know, like to see which way appeals more to you instead of like the news being like, oh, this person did this, or you know
Right.
exactly what you're saying, like
Demonizing people.
Yeah,
I
like, tell me
would
how to
say
feel.
though it is only a little bit less depressing than the news that tells you what to do. So it was still, you know, sad stories, bad things going on in the world, like. But there was positive to it too, I will say. But
Yeah.
like, there's still a big part of it. It's like, oh my gosh, hold on. There's shootings in what country and where, and there's
Yeah.
resistance in Hong Kong, like.
And what can I do about this?
And what can yeah. So it's like, okay, yeah, okay, the whole world's going to shit. I see. Thanks for not telling me to support it or be against it, but like that's
Yeah.
nice. But at the same time, yeah, I'd still go so far as to say I'm not gonna subscribe to that channel just because they don't tell me how to think. They're still giving me the low blows of the world and
I mean, I think to a degree innocence is bliss, but like it's also good to be informed because you know, it is the world we live in, and
I like that you said innocence instead of ignorance.
I guess I was actually like a
Freudian slip.
Yeah, it
yeah.
was.
I thought it was because I knew what you meant for sure,
yeah,
but
Right. But it's true, they're very, like, interrelated, I would say.
it's like how long can we
Like,
maintain
true
our
ignorance.
innocence?
Right.
Still know what's going on, be aware,
right.
and carry forward with an innocence that's going to keep us, you know, pure and blissful. It's damn hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Can we be innocent without remaining ignorant? I believe so, but you know what I mean? That's with taking our general awareness, I feel like, and not choosing to take part in all the dirty, grimy BS. Like we're
Yeah.
saying, not subscribing to NBC, MSN, whatever the hell, Fox News, all that crap, shots fired, y'all suck. And just letting ourselves be and
Yeah.
move forward, not take part in all that drama because all that is keeping us down. So we can stay like innocent about it, but I don't think we can remain ignorant and
Yeah.
actually, you know what I
I
mean,
would
not
agree.
get totally washed into it. In order to be ignorant, we probably are watching one of those stations.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably believing everything that's going on and then thinking that America's safe and strong. Like, That's ignorant, but innocence is a little bit different, I suppose. I don't know. Totally took that.
No, yeah, I mean, that's what we do, like, digesting words. I mean, that's really, like, the main difficulty of, like, communicating verbally anyway, is that, you know, lines are blurred so easily. You know, I might say something right now that might feel true or, like, sound true to me, first and foremost, and maybe you guys, too, but, like, 12 hours from now, will that same thing be relevant or true? Like we were talking about, things are in a spiral nature, you know, like, you know, you look outside and you can see the tree and you're like, oh, that tree is truth. And then 12 hours later, the sun's down, you might not even see the tree at all.
Right.
Or like, darkness is truth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I mean, that's not to say that, like, perspective isn't valid and that we shouldn't be, like, interested in sharing our perspectives and stuff. But I guess I just like to, like, acknowledge how important it is for me personally to keep an open mind and, like, not be too fixated on any particular ideas.
Definitely.
And, like, you know, things get shuffled, you know, like
12 hours from now, I say we all still agree that most news suck. Most news sucks.
Unless something terrible happens that actually affects our, like, immediate lives and we need to turn to the news
and watch what's going on.
Someone's out to get us, but, like, that's the problem, is that so many people are in that mentality falsely.
Right.
We feel like someone's out to get us, but really, no, like, someone else had some bad karma unfold for them.
Right, but I mean, is it like that?
Not to dismiss it.
What about when everyone turned on their TVs on 9/11, 2001, you know? Like, we're all just sitting there watching these airplanes go into the damn building over and over and over again, and we feel like that's all we can do. And
but at the same time, you know, like, would you want to have not even known about it?
No,
and
we all
without
knew
the media,
about
we
it.
wouldn't have known about it.
I remember looking at my mom being like, Mom, why do those airplanes keep flying into all those buildings? Because they just kept showing the same clip over and over again, and I'm like, But how much closer does that bring us as people? Like, does that really do good when all that stuff hits the fan? I mean, unless, there is, like, some ridiculous bombing that's happening all around and we need to turn on the news so they can be like, yo, go here, go here, go here. It's the safe place.
Yeah.
You know, because your average family is not going to have, like, a bomb shelter or, like, plans for when stuff hits the fan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, I think, like, with 9/11, I think it did, as a country, bring us together. Even just more recently, the shootings in El Paso and Dayton, it brings us together as a nation. You know, does something happen because of it? Well,
that's up to us.
Yeah,
right.
We got stricter laws within our own country. It makes it harder for us to travel out of our country. Gun legislation went way up.
But I mean, it's still an attempt to, do something, because we're all rallying together. At least a big majority of us are rallying together, even if it's just, the thoughts and prayers, which is obviously not doing very much. I think it needs to be more action. But I think it does, like, events like that, tragedy brings us together.
Yeah,
to an extent. I feel like the events, like, back to 9/11 perpetuated more racism and stricter, like, law over U.S. citizens than it really did anything for foreign affairs, that it really did for bringing anyone together, honestly and truly, like that.
Yeah, in the short term, I definitely agree that it brought people together, especially in New York City. I wasn't there, but I feel like, that's a place in the country where people are used to ignoring each other, staying in your lane, and just, like, whatever. Hopefully not being hostile to one another, but at least being, like, passive. Where I feel like something like that happened and, like, people became even more neighborly and, like, were actually, like, connecting with their neighbors because a tragedy just had befallen upon their city.
Even for the short term, obviously it didn't last.
Right.
That's
15
what I was
years
say.
later,
And then,
it's like, not, in the long term, maybe not the most positive repercussions.
I mean, even, like, the Dayton and El Paso shootings were not even that long ago.
But
and
that's already water under the bridge, basically.
It brought us together for a weekend, and, we were all, you hear all about thoughts and prayers and, like, what, thinking about the victims, and now what happened, those people are still suffering, and those people are still grieving, and we as a nation are pretty much just, okay, moving on to the next thing.
But we as a nation, like, what can we do other than, like, try and love one another even more, make sure things like that don't happen? But, like, even the shooters, like, at both scenes seem to have been
completely forgotten
extensions of racism themselves. Both outward Trump supporters shooting people up because of why, and they both had access to what are they called? Automatic assault rifles. It's ridiculous. It's called an assault rifle. What the hell is it used for? Ugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that part of the reason why it's water under the bridge so quickly is they've got a million other things to get us fearful about. You know, those are kind of like the cherries on top. I mean, I hate to say this, it's awful to say, but like the media almost like gets excited when something like that happens because they know that that's their bread and butter. Is
they definitely
terrible things happening. But my point is that the other reason why it just passes and nothing really happens is because too few people have real solutions.
Exactly.
Like, and I'm putting that lightly. Like,
yeah,
I probably should be saying no one has solutions.
Right. If someone had a solution, there would be a solution in place,
right.
and that's.
I mean, I can think of a few solutions, or at
nothing
least
that
one,
isn't going to be viewed as radical.
Like,
yeah.
Well, the thing is, I feel like a unfortunate situation with like national politics is that the people that like actually have a sense of like connection and like really like have some answers, or at least like a relationship with truth in a deeper way than like politicians do and bureaucrats do, we have a smaller voice, that they're just not heard. It's not necessarily that they don't want to subscribe to it or that they, don't believe in whatever. I think it's just that people don't want to listen to people like me because I'm perceived as a big crazy who thinks that, we're all one consciousness and one source, and that like
just some crazy liberal, And
and it's not even
it's
that.
Not practical or whatever. But like, so my point though, relevant to the shootings though, I mean, like, what's a solution to that? A solution to that is like recognizing what the problem is.
Exactly.
Like, what's the root issue? And people will try to make it these superficial things. It's about guns. It's about even mental health. Like, mental health, but go deeper. Like, it's not just like someone's brain was broken. It's like our system's brain is broken. Our nation's brain is broken. Our emotions are
Our nature's got no nurture. We're all growing up hurting each other. It seems like fending for yourself, capitalist society, strongest, fastest wins. So don't waste your time helping the slower, weaker, because then you're not going to get ahead. And like, that's such a sick society that is modeled off of nothing other than like degradation of ourselves and the earth that we're walking on, like, simply put. And people are going to hear that and think, oh yeah, liberal, peace-loving tree huggers. Like, what do they really know? And that is something that really upsets me.
That's a poisonous thought though, really. Because it's
for
a
me to have?
No, for people to have about anyone that says something, non-mainstream. Oh, just call them a hippie.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But that's a cop-out. Like,
right,
you're not,
definitely.
Your mind is too close to want to, entertain these ideas of something different.
Exactly.
And that leads me to what I wanted to say. Yeah, a lot of people I know have such amazing, bright minds. They're problem solvers, not, problem makers or
perpetuators.
Problem perpetuators, And so many of these people that have those problem solving minds are too afraid to even try and speak up because they've been shut down, been told that they're just like, a peace, love, and tree hugging hippie. What do you know about reality? And it was like, that's really painful and hard and difficult when you know so many beautiful, smart, amazing people that can make a difference.
Yeah.
And either they're working towards making a difference, they're getting shut down, being told things like that, not being allowed into like professional business settings because they don't wear a suit and a tie kind of thing. They don't want to be listened to. Or, it's the people that have been shut down for so long that eventually they don't even care. They don't vote now. They just stop. They might have these bright ideas and they're like, all right, well, I'm just going to create my own little small world where, I take care of myself. I have my friends and my family that I love, and I can teach about these things, and we can create our own small community, which on one hand is like exactly what we need to do, but at the same time, we can't just give up on actually like making a difference and trying to put efforts and changing.
Because it needs to be integrated.
What's going on? Exactly.
We can't just leave again, and try to start a new thing. There's
no
other country we can flee to and wipe out their civilization.
That's what I was about to say. Any of us that want to make that difference, do you think we want to go and commit the genocide of another race?
Exactly. No, of course not.
It's all one human race anyway. I feel bad I even said
No. We need to heal the wounds in our country. Kara said to me the other day that she almost feels like America is cursed because of the way that it was born. And that's the conversation that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That also needs to happen.
America is literally on top of a giant Indian burial ground.
Exactly. So, not to make light of it, but we need to be aware of it. I feel like
we've been kind of conditioned to think America is the best country on earth, which, like, on one hand, you know, I'm grateful that we're even have the freedom to talk about this.
Absolutely.
You know, and have the freedom to access alternative ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
Because if it was truly a tyranny, you know, then, you know, they would censor the internet.
Oh,
we
yeah.
wouldn't even be able to access
Definitely.
anything outside of their own propaganda.
Right. I mean, I certainly would not go as far as saying America's the greatest country on earth, but like you're saying, you know, there's something to be said about the liberties that we have over other people in other countries. But
Right.
To an extent, that's something that even makes me feel like that's a freedom worth fighting for, if we can actually all be free to that same
Exactly.
caliber, real equality, but we don't have real equality here.
Exactly. That's like the first part of your statement. Like, that's why we're out, like, trying to save everyone else in these other countries. I mean, at least that's what it's
We're
said
not
to
sa-
be.
you know,
That
how-
we're trying to spread democracy.
You
and
know,
stuff
if
like
we tried
that,
to go
but,
and
like,
save a
are we?
country that didn't have oil or didn't have poppy fields to harvest, like, you know, maybe then I'd believe that we were actually saving or liberating a country. Like, I don't think we went to save a country that doesn't have a substantial amount of resources that we can siphon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that seems to be. I don't know, Joni. What do you think about that?
I mean, I agree.
Do you think that's accurate?
I do. I mean, I was in the military for 8 years, so I would agree that, you know, we go to other countries not to save them, but what can we get out of them instead of what can we do for them, you know?
Yeah, which is just sad, because then it really, like, unveils this big masquerade of us being, like, you know,
Bunch of
the
fucking
good guys.
clowns.
No,
Yeah.
That's the reality. The masquerade is that we're, you know, these righteous warriors saving the unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
we're-
the reality is that the military industrial complex is an industry.
Oh,
You know,
definitely.
100% it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just really uncomfortable.
Like, I know some people that have come out of the military and they'll think just like you think. They're like, they can't support a damn thing that they did for real. They aren't happy exactly with what went on, and they come back, but with so much insight on what's really going on there. And so much to share with the world, teaching kids, like, maybe you really don't want to go into the military, you should go to college, like, take out the loan. And, you know, then on the other side of the coin, I have, you know, one of my childhood best friends is in the military, and he was always kind of, like, off the wall a little bit, you know, a little homophobic, racist kind of, like, which came in waves growing up. It was never something I noticed, and now since he's been in the military and has come back, he's, like, 100 times more sexist, 100 times more racist,
Really?
and
Oh, yeah.
homophobic.
Oh, yeah.
And that hurts. And I'm just thinking, like, you got xenophobic motherfuckers out there on the front lines with guns, like, going against people who they see as lesser because they aren't white, straight, and in power. And, like, those are, you know what I mean? The people that don't realize, oh, wow, we're not actually, like, helping anyone out here are the ones that typically end up being power-hungry pigs on the front line, like, hurting people because they don't see them as better. And
Yeah.
that's a perspective, an opinion, but it's one thing that I've seen as truth, at least. Like,
I would
that
definitely agree with
hurts
that.
because, you know, people you love, and then the people that go into military half the time they want to hurt people. I know another person specifically. I was like, "Why are you going into the military?" He was like, "I want to shoot people." He wanted to kill people. This is someone I went to high school with, you know, talking to him right out of high school. Why do you want to do this? Like, I want to kill people.
Well, that's
Like-
what I'm talking about with the lines being blurred, you know, like how the lines between right and wrong are so easily blurred. You know, on one hand, like, killing is wrong. Like, we all have an intuitive thing where we're like, no, well, I wouldn't want to be killed.
Right.
So killing is wrong, and then, you know, that's a law. But then the line is blurred because there's this sector of the country that is like the designated, oh, it's okay to kill in the arena.
Or
You
these
know?
specific people because, you
They're
know, they're
different.
less
Right,
than.
exactly.
Or they're not the same as you because they live somewhere else. Any one of us could have been born in any other country.
Exactly.
You know, and what makes that different? So yeah, I definitely...
Is there any specifics you want to share about being in the military? Like,
Yeah,
perspective
sorry, I got
from the
really
inside?
heated.
You okay, man?
I mean, I think a lot of it, not necessarily like the political red or blue, but like there is a lot of like conservative people, like you were mentioning, like, you know, who grew up in this homophobic, you know, sexist community, and then they go and they have this power now, and it's like, yeah, like I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you, and that's not the right reasons. I mean, everyone has their own reasons. It's a very personal choice, but everyone has reasons. But I just think people like that who have like this like hatred almost that they've been grown up in, they now have this outlet for it, and it's not a safe outlet, and other people are literally
on the other end of that. Like,
and that's families, and that's kids even that are dying because the hatred that is spewed to
because of the
children
hate that's
up.
being mongered here in the States, and then we send the angriest folk out there, it seems like.
And isn't it ironic that a similar vein of people are the ones enacting these shootings that we're all freaking out about? But then it's like, oh, if we had gotten that person into the military, then we'd be
then they'd be fine because they're shooting someone else.
Right,
they're not
outside
shooting
of our fence lines, And just to get back to that conversation too, I just kind of wanted to drive that home a little bit more. Like, why do people do these things? Like, what drives a person to be so hurt, so confused in their own life, so disconnected?
Yeah.
And like, I think that's it. That's why, is because of a disconnection.
Disconnect,
Like,
if you were really connected with
love.
Yourself, you wouldn't hurt another person.
Exactly. Which is sad, and like I can feel for them on that level, like because everyone goes through a phase of like, having to find their own self-love, like we were talking about before. Like we all have to like be on the other side of it in order to get on the side of, you know what I mean? Like we've all gone through that phase of like not loving ourselves. So
all that hurt that kind of brings us to the catalyst of self-love.
Right, but for some people that catalyst ends up being, like you said, an outlet, an unhealthy outlet of thereby like
but
putting
that's
their
not
frustration
catalyzing,
through.
That's just mongering more of what
I mean, semantics,
Yeah.
catalyzing, the reason for, the medium for which something.
I guess when I think of catalyst, I think of it more in an alchemical process. Like, a catalyst is going to be a transformer of sorts, turning one thing into another.
Well, it doesn't have to be a positive thing, though, is my
You're
point.
right,
Like,
you're
they're
right.
transforming their hurt self into an angry, frustrated, aggressive self. That's how they're expressing themselves through guns
You're so
and
right.
violence.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah.
I gotta learn to take off the Bono glasses every once in a while.
Hey, man. It's rosy out here, too, bro. Just gotta, plant those roses.
For sure.
But,
every rose has its thorn.
Exactly, I mean, like, not to act like these are easy answers, but, it's just like so many people are regurgitating the whole, gun control, like, whatever. Like, can we get some people regurgitating what I just said, like, let's love each other, like, let's figure out what's actually wrong, like, let's get to the root of these issues and, like, work on them and not just, like, say your brain's broken, take some pills,
exactly.
like, be like, oh, why? Like, what's actually going on
what's
here?
causing the brokenness?
Right.
It's not just, oh, you're depressed, here's some pills. Or, it's why are you depressed? What is the cause of your hurt? It's a chemical thing, of course, but there's a deeper rooted issue with mental health.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, I feel like it can be represented chemically, because that's the way we measure it.
Right.
By looking at the brain and measuring those chemical responses and pulses and whatever.
Because we are purely physical beings.
Well, that's the other thing, is that we're so, as a country and as a culture, we're so
egoic,
engrossed in the individual. So we think if you have a problem, that's your problem.
Exactly.
But no, if you have a problem, it's because you grew up in a context.
Exactly.
So if you have a problem, then the context has a problem.
Yeah.
Because that's how things work, with like the roots, like
that's a very
we didn't just pop out of the sky and like with our I'm gonna be this personality.
No, exactly. I mean,
that was such a grounded, rooted, like spiritual, analytical way of saying that, though. Like,
you want to repeat it? I don't even remember what I said.
Hold on.
Just give that big highlighter out.
So you're saying it's the context that's wrong, or the context that was messed up. Not you, it's not you, your mind, your being, like the context in which it was read, which you were raised up. So we gotta have a solution to that. We gotta figure out what the actual underlying factor is. You're not looking at it from an abstract, left-brain, creative, like, I mean, it is creative, but it's still a very analytical way of looking at it. I don't know, I just really appreciated that.
Yeah. That was
because
good.
it was
Appreciate you
grounded in
highlighting that.
yeah, it was grounded in truth, but you still kept it analytical to this extent of let's actually decipher and figure out what the core problem and issue is here, rather than a lot of spiritualist belief is just let it be, it'll be okay, you'll be fine, you know. But you took that along with a little bit of like analytical, we are physical, we still have that individual component, and you tied those two together in such a whole thought, a whole idea. And I don't feel like a lot of people look at it in that sense. Like we were saying earlier, it's the system that we're all raised into. You know, such a hot word term, the system,
Right.
but
The context.
The context, I like that.
Yeah.
The culture, the community, whatever
Exactly.
you want to say. You know?
And I don't know, that's just such a well-rounded feeling and thought.
Which isn't to blame the context. Which isn't to blame the community. Like, it's y'all's fault that I'm the way I am. Like,
Right.
you know, of course that's a phase to go through too, and I've been through that as well.
Yeah.
But like now I'm at the point where I understand that I do have complete responsibility for every moment I find myself in.
Yeah.
And I define responsibility not necessarily as like that I physically was the creator of all of my moments. You know, spiritually we might make that argument, but like physically I do have responsibility in the sense that I have the ability to respond,
Yeah.
hopefully maturely,
Right,
you know, to
absolutely.
the moment and not be a victim to, oh my God, stub my toe, God damn it. Stupid threshold. You know, like, no, just like walk over it, like
Right,
whatever, you
move
know,
on.
like pick up your foot. And that's what you're getting at, Clayton, is like you're talking about that spiritual bypassism, which I totally have been there too. Where it's like, oh, well, everything's going to be okay, you know, like everything happens for a reason, which I totally believe. Like,
There's
there, but
a
at the
part
same
of that. You
time-
took like a good chunk of that and tied it in with
Well, that-
an actual thought process of change and
of a
movement.
physical, of
Yeah.
movement, though. That's my point. Is like, yes, that is true, but like, when do you want it to happen? Do you want it to happen in your life, or you want it to happen after we get wiped out and like everything's gonna be okay? Like the sun's gonna survive.
meteor.
Right. Thanks, Maynard.
Yeah.
You know, fucking Joe Rogan, man. I love this guy. So there.
I love it too, but goddamn, you're right.
We went into this whole
Yeah.
conversation. I won't rehash it for you, but anyway, you know, like when do you want everything to work out? Like, do you want it to work out after your life, or do you want to like put our feet in the motion
Yeah.
of like dancing this thing so that we can help that
Yeah.
turn out for the best?
Yeah, absolutely.
And not just be like, oh well, everything's gonna be whatever.
It's fine.
Everything will be alright,
It's
I
fine,
guess.
guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be okay if you try. Here, put on some patchouli.
Focus on the smells.
Focus on the scent. There, look, ignore the darkness. I had an ex, dude. I drank with her a few times. Couldn't go out in public and drink with her after that. It was like maybe 2 beers down. This a few years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know. We're at an after party, after a show, hanging out with some friends, good family, you know, having a good time, sitting. There's a buddy in the corner just playing tunes for everyone.
Nice.
And she just starts running around, looking at everyone's face. She's like, ignore the darkness. Ignore the darkness. It doesn't mean there's nothing but light. And I'm just thinking, like, what is the darkness in you hiding from me? Like, what are you trying to hide? And sorry, that's just what I think of. Like, I think of that as hippy-dippy spiritualists, and I want to have that high energy of light and love too. Like, I want that, but I'm not gonna ignore my darkness or the darkness of the world. Like,
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a slippery slope. The lines are blurred, man. Because on one hand, it's like, you know, be a free spirit. Like, be a airy fairy. Like, if you're an airy fairy, fucking be it. You know, I'm not gonna bring your wings down to earth. Be like, get practical, get in
Right.
the earth, like plant your roots.
and that's what I'm
You
saying.
know,
I
but
love
like-
that vibe, but it's the vibe of ignore the darkness.
But it depends on where you're vibing, though. You know, some people might be vibing out a way where they can ignore the darkness, but
I guess what I'm getting at is like, you know, if we want to make a change, if we want to have that rational action and step to make the movement move, we're not going to be able to ignore the darkness.
You have
We're
to
going to have to
acknowledge
take
it.
all of that
Yeah,
light
for
that we
sure.
have, embody it fully, and walk straight into that darkness. Be like, hey, what's up? Oh, light's shining into the dark. Oh, the dark is no different than the light. It just needed the light to show itself that, and it's all exactly.
it's that integration.
Integration, inner exchange of what's going on, bringing some of that light-filled ideology into the darkness, taking some of that formless darkness into the light, and giving ourselves more substance to work with.
For sure.
And just
Balance.
exactly.
I mean, that's another big. I mean, I know I'm on a roll here, like criticizing our society, but that's another thing that we're really hung up on. Is this like hero, like superhero complex of like where there are good guys and there's bad guys.
Yes.
Well,
I love being
again,
both.
the lines
Yeah,
are blurred.
I mean, I think every person has good and bad,
Exactly.
and some people just have maybe more bad or maybe more good, but there's definitely good and bad in all humans,
Truly.
in the form of being humans, we err. So,
and we're always going to have that duality
Right.
of light and shadow
Yeah.
on this earth.
Yeah.
The world's spinning, the sun's central. We're going to have that duality of experiencing both, the sun being on our side and then on the other side. And like we need to figure out how to orient ourselves and, like you said, integrate those different dynamics, because I feel like like the superhero complex, I feel like that is unhealthy actually, because it
Because then you're trying to
teaches
eradicate that darkness.
yeah, right, exactly. You're trying to overpower it, like dominate the things that are bad, and like I guess my whole point is that it's not that black and white.
It definitely isn't. Like
a bad person isn't someone that we should kill and eradicate. It's someone that we should like try to be
Teach?
friends with, and not necessarily teach, but ask
Rehab,
them to
you know?
heal.
right. Yeah.
Ask them to want that. And like sure, there's some people that just don't want to be healed, and I guess that would be a bad person, but like you gotta at least give them a chance,
Right, exactly.
to make that decision for themselves. And I
Yes.
truly believe that if any person on earth, Hitler, the worst person in the world, like if they actually found themselves in a moment of tender, like loving care, and were like actually given that opportunity
Yeah.
to heal, like everyone wants that. Everyone wants to turn back to the light
Yeah,
and like be
for
a part
sure.
of
The community. That,
exactly in
yeah.
a positive way.
I'm sure that three of us sitting here right now have had plenty of experiences where we've had that tender love and opportunity to melt back into who we are. And maybe
It's not always easy to surrender to it.
no, it's not. I mean, for me, it was violent and ugly, and violent in the sense of the emotions that were being released in those this one moment like that specifically. It took literally another person holding me, and me realizing for the first time in my life, like, oh, this is someone here that like doesn't care about what I'm going through. They just care that I feel better, and like someone just being right there. I wanted to say I could do it all on my own. Hell no, I couldn't. I thought I had done it all on my own until this one person showed me the care and compassion of like, hey, I'm here with you, I love you, and then ugly cry. Release, and
Give me the ugly cry.
I gave him the ugly cry, and
I feel it, man.
I mean, it's what it takes. It's what it took for me, and I'm totally willing to give that to other people too. I want to be able to, like, I don't care who you are, how
Yeah.
old you are, young you are, male, female, like, I want to be there for you. If you need the love, if you want the love.
Even like regardless of the details, like you don't
Absolutely.
even necessarily need to know what someone's going through, but just to like be there.
Just know that they need someone or need, that light.
And that's hard for me. Like it's hard for me to play that role, just like knowing
hard to
someone's
help
hurting
without
and just
knowing.
like because I'm like you said, like you acknowledged earlier, like I do have this like analytical like process to me. Like I want to understand and like think about. I'm a thinker. We could get into the Enneagram and all that type of shit. if
You're
we
also
wanted
a
to,
problem solver.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's why that's the true function of thought, by the way. Is like
problem
solving
solving.
problems, yeah.
For sure. So you want to be
Exactly.
able to not necessarily inhale someone's problems, but take in the information and offer them a potential solution
Right.
and path. Like it's just natural realizing self to want to help others.
But I guess I'm just realizing, too, that sometimes those answers are physical and energetic and not necessarily verbal and thoughtful, which is just like it's a vulnerability that it's harder for me, just because, like I said, that's just my pattern, is to be in the head and to
Right.
be in the mind. But I've been so much in the head and the mind that I understand, like, I need to be in the heart.
Yeah.
Like, maybe even more so. But I can't stop being me. I can only refine the process and all that, so.
For the longest time, I wished I could get out of my heart a little bit and get into my head and
I'm
Really?
the same way.
think about some
Really?
damn,
Yeah.
like start thinking straight a little bit, like stop just floating, giving everything to everyone, and like, taking, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's such a blissful, happy place. But then it's like, okay, how am I gonna function? Okay, what do I need to do to get to this point A to point B? Like, it can't just always be the bigger picture, which is what I feel like I get from living in my heart space all the time. And yeah, it does lead me to all these little opportunities to tie everything together. But there are times when it's like I kind of need to like ascend into my mind and actually think things through and not just do what feels great in my heart, but do what's rationally best for the potential outcomes of my future. And I have such a struggle with that. Yeah, for sure. Like, because I want to be able to follow my heart and my bliss in this little cloud of joy anywhere and everywhere. And
I feel you.
I come to a lot of points where it's like, whoa, I didn't make it much further than I was here last year, but I still made it a little further. I'm still making it.
Right.
So like part of me wants to like get up in my brain and sit down and sacrifice some of that like bliss and joy in my heart and just doing everything I want to do to bam, 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 sit down and
It's more so like
analyze.
allow for like the long-term bliss.
Yeah, exactly.
To like make sure that you're on that long-term path that's gonna get you where you want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. You guys ever seen that meme that's like the head and the heart like fighting about what's
Yeah.
right, and then the soul's like, but y'all shut up.
Yeah.
Just trust me, or something like that. And
Pretty
Joni, what does
much.
that heart shadow look like for you? Like the shadow side of being in the heart.
I mean, I feel like I have a huge sense of empathy, and like when we were talking about like trying to help people, like I almost like take on too much.
You fully inhale what they're going
like,
through.
Like, all right, you're my project now, and like, and I almost forget about my own self when I'm fully engaged in helping or doing a project,
Right.
because I just sometimes I'll let the empathy get the best of me and completely take over, and that's not a bad thing to have empathy, but I think there needs to again be a balance of empathy and I don't know the opposite of empathy, but
Self-care.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think
Just healthy
yeah.
borders for sure.
yeah.
You know what I think it is? I've talked to a few people that have kind of said similar to what you said. It's kind of being like trended in the media as like empaths, whatnot. I feel like what empaths need, or anyone that feels like they're giving too much of their energy to other people's emotions, I feel like people in that situation need to like develop a shield. Whatever that is for you. I couldn't tell you. I don't really necessarily struggle with the same thing, so I
Right.
don't have like an actual advice other than just like figure some way of like shielding your energy, like getting yourself a nice bubble, get your aura nice and strong. Like you can
Yeah.
still like, it's translucent. You can see them, you can feel them, and like
Right.
resonate and everything.
But I'm working
like,
on me.
exactly, but not like taking it into
Yeah,
your bubble.
Exactly. And that's actually definitely a struggle that I have, is creating that space
That
and that
barrier,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
that's been my project lately, to work on. I don't want to say work on myself, but because that sounds selfish, but self-care.
No, it's necessary.
Because
though.
I am. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
That's something I've been really trying, is to take care of myself and do the self-care, and
Are you good at visualization at all? Like when you meditate or just focus, kind of imagining and
usually when I like meditate, I kind of just like don't. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah,
I
me
just
too.
like
Yeah.
I'm clear completely. So
that's the norm for me as well
Yeah.
usually. But if you just talking about building this like shield around yourself, what helped for me when I was first getting into playing around with different energies and utilizing my empathy to like tune in with other people or intuition and whatnot, and trying to find those barriers of like, okay, we're sitting next to each other, how much am I going to let go to where we're just blending into each other, and then how much barrier am I going to have here to where we can both be fluid in our energies, maybe kind of like creating a screen door where the information can come in, but the energy stays outside,
I
stays
like that
with them.
Little filter.
That visual.
Yeah, a little filter. So like imagining even before you go out for the day, just kind of circulating that energy, rising it up, because it's gonna pop right out of your head and surround you. So if you can kind of like buffer that energy as you're building yourself up. I used to do like what I would call like a one-way mirror, so I could see everyone, feel them out outside of it. Because when I'm going out in public, especially if I was going to like a festival or a convention or something, I would want to totally put up as much barrier as possible, like especially at like psychic conventions, because that stuff gets overwhelming.
That's
like
true.
Victory of Light, if you've been there. And so I would do like a one-way mirror where I would just imagine being able to see everything, but then reflecting, bouncing back anyone else's energy to them. So I'd be able to be my genuine, loving self through that, love them, and if they're trying to throw anything off center or whatever at me, they just get hit back with it. And honestly, the amount of people I would see that get kind of pissed with me when I'm being nothing but loving and kind, like I swear, like manifesting that boundary, like visualizing it, it was right
and then
there.
you don't take in their anger or resentment because you recognize that, oh wait, they're actually just seeing themselves.
Exactly. And then you're already knowing that's going on, so you're helping yourself psychologically just as much as you are energetically. And, I'd see the people get mad at themselves because of I wouldn't feed into them. And, they'd probably be really happy with me if I did feed into all that. But I didn't. I wouldn't. And I was still like, I love you. You got this. Deep breath. It'll be cool. And they would, And over time, that kind of transformed from the one-way mirror into the screen door to where it was more like, yeah, we could probably communicate a little more fluidly, but I'm still not letting you in. But I'll take in that information.
I like that visualization, that analogy of the one-way mirror. And
Yeah.
even the screen
really
door,
cool.
those are both really good.
But you can see how the one-way mirror might have a little extra, power to the deflection.
That might be necessary only as you're like still grounding yourself into like those skills of like being able to like still interact and not
Exactly. It took me a
intermesh.
good year or so, at least, just working with like that one-way mirror technique before I had even fantasized about letting people in any further. And that's when the screen door kind of I was like, okay, I can feel the breeze. I'm not having to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really hide. Not that I was hiding myself, but as I became more solid with my own
like
foundation.
fortifying your own foundation. Yeah, I like that. It'd be fun to make a guided meditation doing that exercise.
No doubt.
That'd be cool.
My Reiki master
the
actually.
shield.
Yeah, the shield.
The one-way shield.
The one-way shield. My Reiki master taught me about just setting our intention, even just putting it out there under meditation, saying as a mantra, I accept the information, not the energy.
I like that.
Is enough for if you were to go into a session with someone or you're just sitting, communicating. Half the time, if you're gonna get heart to heart with somebody, it's gonna be we talk about informal therapy for both parties involved. So, how much of the flack do you want to get?
Right. That's definitely a good one, though.
I would love to sit
use
and
that.
turn that into a more refined meditation.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
You're really good at displaying visual guides through your words.
Ironically, because I'm really not very good at visualizing. That's why it helps me to have that guide to
I do like the guided meditations to focus your mind when you're instead of like I was saying just emptying
Right. I mean, I do that freeform too. Sometimes that's what I need, but if there's something that I'm working on, it's easier to have someone else guide me, or even my own recording guide me, rather than having to conjure up the images. You gotta kind of empty first, block out all the information coming at you. Then it's just hard for me to visualize. I guess my third eye is not open or something. I don't know. I mean, I dream and stuff. It's
you just
hard.
got the Berkey. Give it a couple months.
It's true. But that's a good opportunity to tell you guys. Clayton might have told you about this, but Joni, I recently have been turned on to this imagination technique. It's basically to use super buzz terms, it's a manifestation technique to kind of align yourself with what you want, your desires or a certain timeline that you want to align with or whatever. So it's actually super simple, but the first step is to ask yourself what you really want. So this could be something big or small. I mean, that's a loaded, vague, ambiguous question. What do you want? Oh God, what do I want? Yeah. And some people go their whole lives without really asking themselves that too. So pick one thing. It's probably best, especially to a more skeptical mind, to start with something small. Maybe start with you want, I don't know, a Snickers bar or something. So. Let's just use that as the example. So when you're in the hypnagogic state, which is that weird realm right before you fall asleep where you're just kind of witnessing your thoughts are weird and you're kind of in a daze or whatever, I think you can also get into that in the meditation stage too.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're in that state, just start to visualize the scene
the aftermath of whatever it is that you want. So with the Snickers bar, say that you either have the Snickers, you're eating it, or you're like throwing away the wrapper or something. So it's like the aftermath, you got what you want, and like visualize it from within your body, not from the third party, like you're watching a movie, like from your perspective, and load it up with as much sensory detail as you can. And this is the part that's really hard for me. It's hard for me to even imagine like being in my own body in the future for whatever reason. But anyway, this technique, like that's what you gotta do. Load it up with as much vivid sensory detail, so like smells, sounds, whatever, like the feeling, and then load it up with emotional qualities as well, like most significantly love and gratitude. So if you can like feel the gratitude for this thing has happened, I got what I want, I'm so grateful, I love this moment, just like, and that's it. And then just fall asleep or like get up or whatever, you know, and just like trust that that's gonna happen, and don't like try to make it happen. So if it was a Snickers bar, don't immediately get up and go to the convenience store and buy one.
Right.
You know, because then you're not gonna believe that the technique works.
Right.
You're gonna be like, no.
Probably gonna come over and have an extra one later.
Yeah, exactly. That type of thing. Yeah, yeah. And that's just a super silly example.
No, but it makes sense. I mean, it's something so simple as, you know, wanting a Snickers bar, but
Just to begin to train your
Yeah.
mind to actually believe the technique.
yeah.
What works for me is that it's not necessarily imagining myself in the future, because it is almost impossible to imagine the future body, you know? But like you were saying, it's imagining it right now, feeling those feelings in my body, my vessel here, and in that meditation, like.
Good point, but you have to change the scenery to be a future scenery. That's the part that's difficult for me.
Truth.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy to take this body, put it anywhere.
I guess so, man. It's hard for me. But I guess I gotta stop telling myself that.
Yeah.
I've admitted it, now I need to stop saying it.
I think I was telling you about that
getting better.
meditation last night where I'm just sitting out front on the stoop, and all of a sudden my head's a light bulb and I'm just floating. I'm like, okay. I was literally telling myself, you can be anywhere right now. And I was just like flipping through everything. Like, literally, it felt like I was flipping through parallels like it was a picture book. Like,
were you seeing like patterns and stuff of light?
I was
or
like
just,
seeing like reality.
sceneries? Really?
Like,
Wow.
you know, there's like I said, the trees, they, like it was like I flew up into the atmosphere with them, and I was like at the brink, I was at the top of my head, and I had to like coax my own self, like, okay, you're here, let yourself out of the crown. It's the only way you're gonna get any further. It's the only way you're gonna feel any lighter. And then bam, okay, out of the crown. My mind's open. I'm just out there, but my body's, I can still feel it. But
Wow.
it's the portal now. And eyes closed, I'm able to see the two trees in front of me and just stretching into the cosmos, like they're fully grasping and reaching. And it was like that point of like the perfect balance of the black and the white, and it was just gray, basically, like into the everything, nothing. And I was just, I don't know. Visualization was like dreaming at that point, except it went along with my thoughts and stuff.
That's so cool.
I want to be able to turn that into a more manifestation practice, because right there it's like, you know, sandbox mode, yay.
Yeah.
Do what I want. How permanent is this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, okay, I can create a castle right now. I'm walking through it, but as soon as like cops go down the street, sirens running, I'm like, oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's
right.
totally not a permanent manifestation. It's like a realm of self, but
It's so funny how sirens and stuff are like the meditation alarm so many times. Like just any types of like sounds that you just have such strong associations. I mean, those they are alarms, you know, get out of the way type stuff, or pull over. You know?
and that's when I like further into it.
It's just like that grounds you right there.
Yeah, it does. Ooh.
But man, it's yeah. That's another thing that I need to work on, is like getting deeper into a meditation practice for sure. I've been saying that for too long, but like it is hard for me to like get out of the crown, like
get out of the head,
like
that's
get
tough.
out of your body.
Yeah.
You know, like as spacey as I probably seem to a lot of people, a lot of times, like I'm actually pretty grounded. Like
You're quite the grounded individual.
pretty in my body a lot of the times. It's like it's fine as long as your body's not in pain. You know.
Right.
Do you do yoga?
Yeah, I've gotten away from it,
Yeah,
but
me too.
I do, just not right now as often as I used to. But
Same. I've really let myself go. But
Did you try this yet?
I did not.
Would you like to?
Is it the coffee?
Yeah, it's a Raza coffee. It's like
I put it with coffee though.
so it's coffee and the adaptogenic blend.
Yeah.
Oh, you can definitely taste the Raza. Like
I
it
tried
doesn't just taste like coffee.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
You don't really drink coffee at all, though, do you?
Not really. I mean, I will. I'm more of a tea person.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I like the Raza, because it's basically
that
tea.
doesn't taste like
just
coffee.
Yeah, it really doesn't taste like coffee. It's just that it's bold and like
It's definitely bold.
bold and bitter like coffee, like
Yeah.
a very dark tea. But
Yeah.
it's non-caffeinated. I'll go ahead and give them a little plug. So Raza is actually similar to your business startup. Like she had a baby and like realized that she didn't want to be drinking coffee so much
Yeah.
because it was giving her the jitters and whatever. So she just created this like
That's awesome.
adaptogenic. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, adaptogenic blend or
Yeah.
adaptogen blend.
Yeah. So have you ever heard of adaptogens? I think there's like 9 specific adaptogens, but then there's also ones that haven't been verified as adaptogenic, but that are like closely related. So she used some of those as well. But basically, what adaptogens are: herbs or fungals. Like I said, there's some mushrooms in there. But basically, they interact with your brain in ways that like encourage neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So they kind of, as the name suggests, like help you adapt
Yeah.
to different situations. So they're like help you adapt to stress and like just kind of make
That's
your
cool.
brain more flexible
Yeah.
almost. So they do take a while to really like kick in, like really like help. I say like if you drink this stuff for like a couple months or something, like you might begin to notice benefits.
So I'm
But
not
it's
going to notice that one sip.
No. But you know, it's not like a drug. Like you're really not gonna notice
Right.
anything. It's just that like you were saying with crystals earlier. I think it's like something that we can like put positive intentions into, and then like consume
Gotcha.
the
Yeah.
positive energy, and then like
That makes
almost
sense.
placebo, but
Yeah.
it's also been scientifically
Right. Yeah.
explained as well. So
That makes sense.
Shungite's one of the most scientifically explained stones so far.
who?
Shungite,
Shungite?
yeah.
What about quartz? I'd imagine that would be too. I mean, they use
To an
that.
extent, they've learned how to put actual information into quartz crystals.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like key freaking things. I don't know. They've learned how to like laser engrave information or something like that so that they can use crystals like
That's
quartz
nice.
as a way to store information.
Aren't there like crystals and stuff in computers or no?
Yeah, they use quartz in processors and all that
So I
kind of
thought,
stuff.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
they've like taken like chunks of crystals and like made them into like little things.
Wow.
I don't
Little
know. I
data
don't
chips.
know it, but I just kind of was like, oh, science, cool.
Nuts. I mean, that's
Neat.
like Superman stuff, like the crystal that
Yeah.
started the Fortress of Solitude or whatever. Like,
No, basically that's
But
what,
it, like,
what I was
yeah,
thinking the whole time I was
kryptonite.
talking about that. Like this, some crazy nutso shit, but it's real.
Right, though,
Like-
you know, our first associations with it is like fiction, you know? But then it's like, oh, wow, interesting.
I mean, I always thought my mom was the one who kind of got me into like crystals and their energies and whatnot.
Really?
I remember making fun of her as a kid.
Really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
because I mean,
Why?
because I was a little angry shit. I was like,
But she didn't like talk to you about it until you were old enough.
till I
to
was ready
realize it.
and like open to it. She
Yeah.
didn't even try to.
Okay.
I was more so on my like dad's side of things, like you're nuts, lady, and now look at me,
Yeah, but look at me now.
look at me now, exactly, and that kind of is just like really weird to think about. Looking back, feel a little bad, but yeah, I was just like an angry little like sad boy ball of angst and teenager that didn't know how to process quite yet, so I was projecting hardcore. And she's the one who got me into stones, and even then I didn't know about it until literally one day. The most cliche thing you could probably ever hear about crystals is I put one on my third eye, and I started meditating with it and let go of it, and that little mofo magnetized to my head. I got into this crazy meditation where I literally felt this like line of energy through my forehead, through this crystal into the center of my brain, just like massage me until I had this goofy, like I am high off of this rock. I'm getting high on the rock, but no,
not
dude,
that rock.
not that rock, dude. I'm talking straight mineral and and I was just like, wow. I remember opening my eyes, and just being like, not in disbelief that I just meditated with the rock and I feel high.
That's
And I
yeah.
smile. The rock falls off my head, and I just whoop, and it falls into my hand. And I'm like, I look down at it and I'm like, alrighty then. Like, there's something going on here and I can't explain it. People will think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy, but like, there's some really, really awesome stuff going on.
Yeah, man.
Base level energy.
Just one of those things, like, if you're feeling it, you're feeling it. You don't really need to talk about it. You know what I mean? You don't need to explain it to someone who does, like, probably has no interest in feeling that because they've already closed themselves off to it, you know? Just like, they hold energy. Like,
Literally.
You know, like, you can charge them with energy. Like, they can get stale. They can get non-powerful because they've gotten so stagnant.
Yeah,
you know,
dude,
whatever.
I've definitely, like, played with... My friend Angelica came over the other day. And she pointed out a stone. I was like, yeah, and I picked it up. And I was like, ooh, and then I handed it to her. She was like, ooh, we need to give this a bath. Like, I didn't even say anything to her. She just wanted to see it, so I handed it to her. She was like, we should give this a bath. And I was like, I literally felt bad handing it to you, kind of, because I was like, yeah, we need to. She's like, don't feel bad. We need to do this.
Wow.
And then we did, and we, like, you know, literally bathed the stone, gave it some good energy. Like,
Just, like, put it through water.
Yeah, rinsed it in water, and, you know, just both held on to it a little bit. And it did not feel like the same rock. It felt heavy and dense. Like, oh, I'm picking up the sludge. Like, it's obviously had been, like, it's a big one, so it had been, like, filtering throughout my whole space, I feel like, and a lot of the things that have been going on, and then we cleaned it, and it felt like light. I was like, wow.
Wow.
Like,
yeah,
I can pick this up.
Interesting, like, image for it, too, like, it being, like, a filter, almost like an air filter, like, all these particles, like, getting stuck in there, like, maybe almost, like, gravitating stuff to it, but then, like, yeah, you gotta rinse that shit out.
Yeah.
Literally. Could I ask you one question before we headed out?
Yeah.
What was the progression of your mind state and, like, the evolution of yourself through the 8 years that you were in the military?
Well, I joined when I was 17, so, I mean, naturally, going from being 17 to 25, you know, like, without the military, you know, I
there was
matured.
lots of
Right, like,
maturation.
I was becoming an adult
Yeah.
the entire time I was in the military, but, I think I don't know, it set me, I don't know if I would say it, like, gave me perspective. I mean, it did, because life gives you perspective, but, I don't know. I guess it was just like a maturation process where it probably would have happened regardless, but I think knowing the people I did, it kind of like gave me an eye-opening perspective, like knowing the people who are like super like closed-minded, I think it did give me that perspective of this isn't really
who you are.
Yeah, like, you know, I was more open-minded and like, I don't know.
So you seem very open-minded, like you've definitely maintained like a fertile soil in your mind for sure.
For sure. Do you feel like most people were more closed-minded, or?
I wouldn't say closed-minded, but I would say, like, more conservative. Not like, again, not necessarily red or blue, but like just in their thoughts in their lives. You know, like they just live a more conservative life. Not necessarily closed-minded, but maybe just not as open-minded, not as accepting.
That was the majority of the people in there, or?
I would say, yeah. I mean, politically, the military is, you know, typically a Republican-based group. You know, like they have tight correlations, but obviously there's an array of people. But I think in general, the military is more conservative. So I don't really know if I fit in. I don't know if I would say I didn't fit in, but like I wasn't like the mold. I kind of broke the mold with like the traditional like.
More of an outlier.
Yeah, like the military perspective. So.
But you definitely made friends in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've made some lifelong friends. So.
Yeah.
Would you say it was hard to maintain like your own unique thinking self sometimes in the military? Like hard to think for yourself because so often you weren't able to challenge what was said or.
I mean, I was, like, by no means someone, like, important. I wasn't, like, a general. So, you know, I kind of just, like, showed up, did my thing, and kind of left. But, so I didn't really, like, make it my life. Like, a lot of people, like...
That becomes their identity.
Yeah, they eat, drink, and breathe it. You know, like, that's everything. And me, it's just like, yeah, I did it. Okay. You know, it was almost like a job.
Right,
so, like, you know, I worked at a bank. Oh, I was also in the Army. Like, it was just kind of, like... It's just something I did. And but I know a lot of people who it like, I mean, they have like full sleeve tattoos and like their cars are all decorated and I'm like, we get it.
All of their family has a veteran bumper sticker.
Oh yes. Like, like we got it, buddy. You served. Like
the majority of people that I've known to have been in the military are individuals that more so demonstrate that kind of quality is like
the like big
I am military.
This is me, yeah.
Especially I know more people that have been in the Marines over like Air Force or
Yeah.
Navy or Army or anything.
The Marines is definitely like its own thing. Like, I mean, their whole thing is like you're always a Marine. Like, so I do think I can't speak to the Marines. I didn't go through their training, but
Were
I
you
definitely
Army?
think
You were-
I definitely think the Marines embody like I am a Marine much more than any of the other branches. But I mean, it is a thing to be proud of. You know, it's a big commitment and it's a big like. I don't know the right word for it, but I mean it's almost like being a police officer, like a firefighter. You know, it's a civil servant,
Right.
and the community looks up to people like that, people who are like selfless and heroic. You know, but I've never felt like that. Like I've never been like, oh, I'm a hero, because I wasn't. It was like I said, it was just a job for me, more or less.
Gotcha.
But that's not to knock anyone who does embody that, because, you know,
Sure, yeah.
it is something to be proud of. Or, you know, I know lots of people who are firefighters or, you know, other careers that are like, yeah, this is me, this is my life. So
Most firefighters are like
Yeah.
that for sure too.
yeah.
And
So, which, I mean, it's totally understandable. It's something that you have to really just throw yourself into to really get the full impact of most of the time. So, had I have, you know, made it more of my like life, I don't know if it would have changed my mindset. I don't think it would have. I grew up in a pretty like open-minded, you know, free-spirited family where
naturally just going with the flow.
right. So like back to like, you know, the system or, you know, nature versus nurture, I think part of me was never going to end up as a closed-minded, like, you know
Right.
what I'm saying, like just
Because that's outside of your identity.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that would have been a really big transformation. And not to say it couldn't have happened, but just from where I grew up in a very accepting and loving, open-minded family, I think that, you know, that has become my identity.
I almost feel like maybe even like a trauma would have to occur for like
Right.
that to close you down to
Yeah.
be like, oh wow, no, this is the way, this rigid way is the way, not
Right.
you know what
I mean, I
don't
can't
know
even
what
like
that would have been,
imagine anything like trauma or anything. Like, there's nothing that I can imagine
Yeah.
happening to me. Hopefully, nothing does.
Right.
But I mean, it would have to be like literally a life-changing
That's what I'm
event,
getting at,
because that's
yeah.
just not who I am.
Exactly.
You know, I,
Never been one to subscribe to like one set of ideals
right?
or
Like
beliefs.
you know, even like in high school, like I didn't have like a set of friends. Like I sat at every lunch table. Like I was friends with everybody. And there, you know, that's not
That's
common.
beautiful.
It's not common.
it's
though.
not.
I mean,
No, it's
usually
not,
it's like
yeah.
this is my group of friends,
Right.
and I fit in with these people. But it was like literally like every other day I would sit at a different lunch table.
Wow.
You know,
See,
like
that's
just
awesome.
hang out with different
That's
people.
something that
So,
a lot of people work towards, being able to be more
Yeah.
More that
socially
drifters.
fluid
Yeah.
and like fluid within themselves. Exactly. What word did you use?
I was saying that like drifter type
Drifter,
of role,
yeah,
like, you know,
for
like,
sure.
I'm
The-
in this town, I'm in this town,
Yeah.
you know, everyone's my friend, like everyone has something to, you know, like
Yeah.
you can talk to anyone.
Right.
Like I
You-
aspire to that, but it's hard. That's
It
way
is
outside
so
my
difficult. I
comfort
mean, that's
zone.
definitely. I'm probably more leaning towards that side of things. I'm able to sit and talk with anyone, and I attract
Definitely.
the weirdest people. Like, and I wouldn't rather have it any other way. But like, literally, the weirdest person you could think, like, that's one of your friends, Clayton. It sure as hell is. Like, you best believe it. Like,
More for me, it's like strangers. Like my husband's like, you just have a face that strangers need to tell you their life story.
Really?
And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
You
a
pointed that
compliment,
out.
I mean, it is, but
the other day we were at
What?
the Walgreens or whatever.
Oh, about you? That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Clayton's the same way. A stranger would come up and just, yeah.
I was
There's
at the
something
Y
about
the
it.
other day, and I had just gotten out of the shower, so I was like in a towel, and this lady's like,
Where do I start,
and I was
girl?
like, are you okay, ma'am? And Mike's like, yeah, you should have never asked her that.
Out loud. Not
Because I
even
mean,
lowered his
obviously she
volume.
needed to like,
She
was
needed to
going through
vent.
something, and I was like,
yeah, exactly.
are you alright? Like,
Right place, right time. Give it to me, baby.
and she was like, reminding you, I'm sitting in a towel. I just got out of the shower, and she's like, well,
It all started when I was born.
I mean, pretty much.
People been shitting on me since I was little.
She was like, well, my husband's going to the lake, but my dog's got diabetes, so my friend's coming down to give my dog 16 units of diabetes medicine, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's like, but, you know, one time he didn't eat his breakfast, but then I let him out in the backyard, and I'm like, what are we talking about? Like,
The dog or your husband? Like,
I don't know. No, her husband was going to the lake, and then, I don't know, like,
oh, man.
she, for
We've all
like
run into
15
people
minutes,
like
this
that.
lady was telling me the
Where
most
were
weird-
you?
At the Y.
Okay.
In the locker room.
In a towel.
But that kind of stuff like at the grocery store, people are just like, okay, well, I'm really glad you got that off your chest.
Yeah.
But
Do you feel like you're able to like do you feel like you're playing a positive role for them? Or do you feel like they're like sponging? Or
I mean,
that's the wrong term.
It's
Trying to use you as a sponge. That's what I meant to say.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'd like to think that I'm like this positive. Like, that lady's like, wow, that girl in the locker room really changed my life. But I really don't think that's what it was.
Well, I mean, to an extent, and I feel like this might be one of those situations where more mindfully setting up like a
Yeah.
filter is gonna like help you with those situations, because you know a lot of times when you get those filters, when you're taking in your actual intuition about it, because you know what I mean, our intuition is going to be the information,
Right.
The empathy is going to be the energy. So like we want to empathize to the point where we can feel what level they're on, but they want to intuit what they are getting across informationally, like
Right.
Energetically. It would be like, these people are just anxious as shit, we really can't help them whatsoever.
Yeah.
Other than being like,
Right.
gonna be cool. Take a deep breath with me. All right.
Right.
On your way.
Yeah.
Get going.
Right. They
You
just
know.
need a vent. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll
Just
hear
Clear
you
it out of their
but yeah.
chest. And I mean, that's fine. If that's what someone needs me to be, you know, I'll sit and listen to your dog's
Exactly. As long as you can take care, as long as we can take care of ourselves
Right.
enough to the where like it's
Exactly.
not hurting our
Right.
own energy to
Right.
like get them up and on their
Right,
feet.
exactly. If she needed to vent that day about whatever it is that she was venting about, then
I just can't
you know,
stop
I was
imagining
there
this.
for that person.
Yeah, exactly.
It was bizarre. It was so bizarre.
Oh, she didn't hear me the first time.
That's pretty much. And I had my back turned, so I was just like, "Are we okay? Like, what's going on back there?"
Dang, so she didn't even see your face. She was just
No,
like...
she saw my back.
She was either A, one of those people that are just gonna do that to anyone that's
I
around,
think she
or
probably
B,
was.
like sensed that you were like.
I feel
gonna be
like
open
she
enough.
felt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
I
think
don't even
so
think
too.
she was consciously like.
I don't know.
Not that I know
Right.
what was going on, but the
No,
feeling I'm
but
getting is
yeah.
that it was more like she felt like she was like, I'm about to have my release, and you were right there, just like,
Yeah.
what's going
Just
on?
like an angel,
Catch
just like ready, you know, just there.
Hey, and you were
present.
just so quick to respond too, like sensitive to that, and you're like, you're like, hold on, Margaret. Well, can you push my 3 o'clock back?
Yeah, man. Well, that's honestly like a beautiful thing, though.
It
To, like,
is.
be able to put out that energy of like welcoming, like you're welcome to have this conversation with
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that type of
Taking the
thing,
strange
but-
out of strangers, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Still
true.
weird, but it's not so strange
Right.
anymore.
Still hers, but.
You ever been in a conversation where like someone's just going on and on forever, and you're like,
Yeah, that's happened too, but you know, only if I'm at a low vibration or like they, you know, that's another thing that happens. Sometimes people are in a conversation, but they don't actually want it to be a dialogue. They just want to talk,
Right.
and that's draining as hell because it's like, dude, I mean, I'm down to converse with you. Like, I'm down to like have this be a back and forth. Like, you tell me something, I tell you something, or like you give me some perspective on my thing, I give you, you know,
Right.
likewise. But like, dude, I'm not just gonna sit here and eat up your stuff.
I
Like,
this
get out my
lady.
ketchup, like, you know, slurping it in.
need some high
like,
fructose corn syrup for all this bullshit.
Exactly.
God damn.
Can I have seconds?
You know, careful who you ask.
Oh my God.
God damn.
You know, so yeah. Well, wow. I feel like this whole conversation has been circling back to self-care, though. Honestly,
Definitely.
Truly.
I think
definitely
that's
think
definitely
that.
the big highlight of today. And you know, ultimately, like people gotta find their own methods of what
Yeah.
actually
spec-
works. You
More
know?
specifically, it's been the self-care that we can give to ourselves to ensure that we're still able to benefit others and the community around us has been like
Exactly.
the specific kind of self-care that we've been talking about today. Because there's that kind of self-care that's like, yeah, take a shower, do yourself up right, lay in bed for a couple hours in your robe. Like, that's self-care. But we're talking
Which is
like
necessary when it's necessary.
when it's
but-
necessary. But this is that kind of self-care that's like, how can I still be the best person that I can be for the people around me?
Yeah.
And that's pretty righteous shit, guys.
Yeah,
Like,
man, absolutely. And that's actually what I was thinking about too when you were saying that about the story with the lady, because like I feel like if you're able to have that screen and have some sort of filter where you're not just like getting overwhelmed by like all of her baggage she's unloading, then it's like you actually do still have some energy to like maybe even help out a little bit. Like, you know, maybe I can actually give you something here because I'm not like overwhelmed by how
Right.
much you're spewing out your victim
your victimhood. Who-
Sorry, that was a little mean, but y'all know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah,
Life's so
so-
rough. I started at 4 years old, and my dad forgot to pick me up from the shelter. I was just looking at dogs. I'm sorry, but yeah, like, no more
It's so
victimhood.
true though, man. It's so true. I mean, it's something to move through though, like, but move through it, you know? If we get caught up in that victim mentality, then that's a cancer, you know? That's a sickness.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
I still victimize
not-
myself from time to time, typically without realizing I'm doing that.
Because it's a habit too.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I've remained victim until I have like a moment of clarity where I'm like, I'm so beyond that. Like,
Yeah.
why am I even wearing that like a weight?
Right, right.
I did not. This person didn't do that to me. That person who cut me off didn't cut me off on the highway and ruin my day. Did you think about the fact that I was driving, me talking to myself right here, like 10 miles over the speed limit, had to slam my brake on, and then the fact that maybe throwing the bird out the window didn't help me feel any better about it. Like, who's at fault here now, Clayton?
Right.
Like, me. It was my fault. Damn it. Like,
Big picture perspective. It's too easy to get like locked into our one narrow view and scope, you know, like that's a perfect example though, you know, because when we're driving, we think the road's for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, get out of my way, y'all.
I'm driving.
Right.
I
got places to be. Y'all are just in my way.
Right.
you
I
know?
do not rage on my 2 feet. Like, I rage in my driver's seat. Like,
Exactly, because we have that bubble around us. We've got that.
It's-
like,
we're all so
shell
disconnected
that we
from
feel
each other.
Safe, exactly, we feel like safe enough to like be aggressive to people that if we saw them face to face, we wouldn't be honking and hooting and hollering, calling everyone a jackass.
Yeah.
Like,
The internet's the same way too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
for sure,
God.
the internet
Point.
like gives you like, oh, you're like invisible. Or,
Yeah.
not invisible.
no, you're
invincible.
right. Both.
Yeah,
both,
exactly.
For sure.
But I mean, that's a big one. You know?
I've fired
That's such a
too
good
many
point.
shots across Messenger and text and
yeah,
like
it's
things
easy to
that I
do.
really feel that I really need to say, but should have just waited a few more days to see that person in face to face.
Yeah.
I've totally like, bam, bam, bam.
That's
like,
so true, man. Because it feels like in the moment, it feels like self-care to be like, no, I'm gonna be honest and like.
I'm gonna stand up for
send
myself
it,
right
you
now.
know, like,
Right,
let me
I'm
put
gonna
out
get
all
this
my
off my
thoughts, but
chest,
you're
I'm
right.
gonna-
But they're not
words
gonna
are
get my
so-
inflection. They're not gonna
Right.
get my stance, and they're not gonna see where I'm coming from. They're gonna read this purely through their own filter off of their own screen.
Which is going to immediately turn into I'm being attacked. I'm not going to read their loving energy because all I see is the words, you know?
And it could be harsh energy. It could be painful truth. And no matter whether you send that with the utmost love or the utmost disrespect and lack of care, like, doesn't even matter. Because exactly
Yeah.
like you said, they're gonna be reading it exactly how they see it. It's so blasé. There's no.
And there's no opportunity to have the back and forth to like refine that into some clarity. You
No,
know, just
there's
that raw,
how
crude
well can I
information.
word what I'm saying to
Yeah.
get my point across
Exactly.
based on how I interpreted what they said.
Yeah, it's a dangerous, slippery slope for
I
sure.
try to just use texting for making plans.
Yeah,
And then the occasional, hey, how are you? Good morning, I love you.
right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Alright. That's the cut. Oh yeah. Sweet, well thanks again, Joni.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was really fun. And thank you for taking time to listen to this episode. Since we kind of neglected to really highlight our takeaway from this episode, I just wanted to take a minute to do that. So my takeaway from this conversation was definitely the need to really do what we can to embody self-care. And if that means doing some of these exercises that Clayton and Joni described of, you know, kind of energetically and psychically building a shield and a bubble of protection to make sure that you're sealing your own energetic, emotional field, or just doing what you can in your free time to really build up your energy so that when you are in the marketplace or in your social circles that you're really bringing to the table everything that you can, really showing up with your potential. So I highly encourage anyone who is struggling to kind of
separate their energy from others, to try out those meditations and those exercises that Clayton laid out for us, and go ahead and shoot us a message or a comment or anything if you would like to see us put together a full guided meditation, a guided visualization to doing those types of exercises. Or if there's any other topics that you would like to hear us explore, or maybe if you would like to come onto the podcast, feel free to reach out. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Peace.